In the 7th century, a single man fought over 100 battles across the Middle East and finished his career without a single defeat. His legendary name was Khalid ibn Al-Walid. To understand how unlikely that record is, look at the map. The early Islamic State was a small territory sandwiched between two massive entrenched empires, the Romans to the west and the Persians to the east. The Romans commanded a professional military machine, supported by the massive wealth and stone infrastructure of the Byzantine world. Across the desert, the Persian Sassanid Empire held on to centuries of tradition, fielding heavy cavalry from their massive capital at Ctesiphon. Surviving a clash with either superpower was rare for desert tribesmen. Khalid ibn Walid systematically dismantled both of them. Khalid was born into the Banu Makhzum, a wealthy aristocratic clan in Mecca known for producing elite cavalry and military leaders. His early career was actually spent fighting against the Muslims. At the Battle of Uhud, it was Khalid's tactical flanking maneuver that broke the Islamic lines. After his conversion, his expertise became the centerpiece of the Muslim military. The Prophet Muhammad eventually gave him a title that would define his historical record, the Sword of Allah. Under Caliph Abu Bakr, Khalid was tasked with bringing the fractured Arabian Peninsula back under central control, successfully reunifying the region through a series of rapid, high-stakes campaigns. By the time these domestic wars ended, the Arabian Peninsula was unified for the first time, and every soldier in the desert knew the name Khalid ibn Walid. That reputation was forged into something more significant when Khalid led his men out of the desert and into the heart of the Persian Empire. At the Battle of Walaja, Khalid's mobile light cavalry faced the elite, heavily armored core of the Persian army. Khalid used the terrain to his advantage, ordering his center to slowly pull back, drawing the Persians into a trap. Then, two hidden cavalry units swept around from the flanks, completing a circle that left the larger force with no escape. He paired these maneuvers with psychological warfare. At the Battle of Ulais, Khalid rode out and challenged the enemy commanders to single combat, killing them before the main engagement even began. The sight of their generals falling in the dirt before a single sword was swung shattered the morale of the Persian troops. Through geometry on the map and public dominance on the field, Khalid convinced his own men they were unbeatable, while his enemies began to fear his arrival as an inevitability. This streak reached its peak at Faraz, where Khalid routed a unified army of Romans and Persians who had set aside centuries of war just to stop him. But the cost of this success was a growing cult of personality. Soldiers were starting to believe that victory came from Khalid's presence rather than from divine will. In Medina, the political and religious center of the state, leadership had passed to Caliph Umar. In a faith built on the supremacy of one God, a general viewed as a lucky charm or an invincible savior presented a severe ideological problem for the new caliph. While Khalid was at the peak of his military success, Umar sent a shocking decree to the front lines. He stripped Khalid ibn Walid of his command. The empire's most effective general now posed the most significant internal risk to the stability of the state's ideology. History is full of generals who used their loyal armies to march on their own capitals when faced with a demotion, just as Julius Caesar did to Rome. Khalid held that same power. His soldiers were fiercely loyal to him, and he had the military strength to ignite a catastrophic civil war. When the decree arrived, Khalid stood before his men. He did not protest, and he did not call for a mutiny. Instead, he surrendered his post. He handed control over to his successor, Abu Ubaidah, and took his place in the ranks as an ordinary soldier. He told his men that he fought for the Creator, not for the Caliph, placing his faith above his own status. Khalid continued to serve, taking orders from the men he used to command, and fighting with the same dedication he showed as a general. This obedience preserved the unity of the caliphate and proved that the state's strength wasn't tied to a single man. Khalid ibn Walid died in his bed, without a single defeat in the field. But his story is remembered because, when given the order, he willingly set aside a career of conquest to serve as an anonymous soldier.